Hey, what's up, everybody? Josh here. Welcome to the R-Rated Show. Welcome to my review of Ford versus Ferrari, which came out November last year, November 2019, directed by James Mangold, the brilliant director behind Logan. And what else he do? He did Walk the Line. I guess he's working on the new Indiana Jones movie, which is promising. And then 310 to Yuma as well. Stars Matt Damon and Christian Bale, two great A-list actors, rather. Usually do a really good job, but they brought their A-game with this one for sure. They did a really great job with their roles in this movie. But I didn't see this movie last year when it came out. I had mild interest in checking it out. Then I started hearing really good things about it. And I think it was nominated for a couple Oscars, and still hadn't seen it. Usually I see all the big releases winding up before the Oscars drop, because I want to have my opinions in place before Oscar season. But I never got around to seeing it for whatever one reason or another. I guess my attention was shifted elsewhere. But I finally saw it the other day, and almost instantly, I was sucked into the story of this movie. Not that I have any overt interest in the subject matter of racing cars per se, but the story is so well done and the acting's so good. It's a beautiful movie as well, and the sound design is excellent. But I just got sucked into the movie right away. The pacing of the movie is fantastic. But James Mangold is the director behind Logan, which was really good. 310 to Yuma, which I really enjoyed. That's an underrated movie, in my opinion. He's working on the new Indiana Jones movie, which gives me hope that it's not going to be awful. I'm actually kind of glad Spielberg and Lucas are kind of out of the way. Maybe it'll be better than Kingdom of Crystal Skull, but that's a different show altogether. And he also did Walk the Line, so he's got a good track record of having quality over quantity in terms of his backlog of movies he's done over the years. So the movie was just very competently done. It's a little bit long, is probably my biggest criticism of the movie. It's 2 hours and 32 minutes, so it does feel a little bit too long. It would have been nice to have something around 2 hours, I feel like, but as a first-time watch, it really held my attention. I was really invested in the characters in the story. Now, the story essentially is about Henry Ford II struggling, in the car industry, trying to stay competitive, and Lee Iacocca, who worked for Henry Ford Jr. Second, back in the late 60s, comes up with an idea as a marketing ploy, to buy Ferrari in order to give their cars more of a sexy edge, so that the younger buyers would be interested in buying them. So they fly to Italy and they make a proposal to the owner of Ferrari, and he basically insults Ford and his company, which gives him the motivation to build his own race car and beat Ferrari at the Le Mans. And it's a really long race in France, essentially. And look, the cool thing about this movie is you don't have to be a huge race car fan or racing fan to enjoy this movie at all. It really doesn't get bogged down in the nuts and bolts of what all that means. You don't have to have a pre-existing understanding of how race car or racing world works at all to enjoy this movie. It's broken down to you very simply and in layman's terms, in a way that you can just really enjoy the characterization of these two central characters and their motivations, and then the culmination of that at the end. So if that's something that you go, oh, this is, the movie does have a lot of machismo in it, I will admit, but that doesn't bother me. I found it to be a plus. It was really refreshing, actually, that it was, a very sort of a man's movie in a way, but I definitely could see anybody really getting sucked into this movie if you just open your mind to enjoy it. But you get sucked into it right away, and it's the story right away. So, and it keeps a really solid pace of interest through the whole thing. It does drag a little bit here or there, but it doesn't have trouble finding its way back to an interesting story. So, but essentially, Christian Bale and Matt Damon play these two characters. One is a car builder, the other is a car mechanic slash race driver, I guess you would say. But essentially, it's they have a long-standing friendship. They've been through the racing world together, and lives change, things change. They are getting older, and but one way or another, essentially, Ford wants them to build them the ultimate race car in order to beat Ferrari at the Le Mans. So, a big portion of the story is the first act of the story is a setup. Then you've got them building and testing the car, which a big portion of that encapsulates the building of the relationships, the ups and downs, if you will, and character building elements like the families involved and the sort of peripheral characters and whatnot to make you care more about the characters. And then the end, which is the crescendo, the essentially the race at the end. So, you're rooting for, it's very much like Rocky in a way, in the sense that there's a setup of the character, there's the struggle, and then there's the, the overcoming the challenge at the end. And so you're rooting for the characters. You're not rooting for one main character. Essentially, Christian Bale's character, the race car driver, I think he's really the central character, but him and Matt Damon really shares a lot of screen time, and they really share the glory of the story, But it's about overcoming the challenge at the end, and human ingenuity and friendship and stuff. And so it's got a lot of different elements working for it, a lot of strong elements that I really liked, and the acting was great. Matt Damon and Christian Bale had definite chemistry between them as friends, as really close friends. Christian Bale, of course, was doing his method acting thing, and really, you really bought him as this one specific character that he's characterizing, a real person. It would be so easy just to see him do Bruce Wayne, from the Nolan Batman trilogy, but he doesn't, he's so removed from that. I think he's lost some weight, and he brings in this British accent, and, he's got sort of this I don't want to say it's like, it's not like trashy, but he's got this sort of like blue collar goofiness about him, so it's not like, even though the movie is very machismo-esque, very, manly in a way, his character is very, he's a man's man, but he's a blue collar. He's definitely very flawed, and there's something very almost kind of goofy about him, that he is just sort of like this person who low on the rung of society, low on the totem pole, a low rung, low social status, if you will, but he's driven by this compulsion to be a race car driver. It's like everything to him. So that's an interesting juxtaposition, and all he really cares about is that. And in that world he shines, he's the top of his game, but outside that world he's sort of just like this grease monkey, wrench turner, just trying to take care of his family. And then the Matt Damon character is the opposite of that, where he's sort of a polished, maybe started out as a blue collar guy, but built this huge world-renowned company for building race cars, and he's at the top of his game. And so the characters grew apart as far as their social status, but they still have that bond there, which is the love of racing cars. So I just really found it to be interesting. Great writing, it was directed, is amazing. The sound design is such a huge part of this movie. I mistakenly watched this movie on my laptop. I had a Bluetooth speaker just sitting on my chest, and even with that little Bluetooth speaker, just the sound design really penetrate, like you just get the feeling of the car, that's a huge part of the movie. So if you could see it on a nice high def TV with a nice sound bar attached, that's how I would recommend seeing it. I mean, obviously it'd probably be best to see it in a movie theater. Nobody's doing that right now. So if you're gonna watch it at home, get the sound on and turn it up, turn the bass up, get those levels just right, because it's part of the experience. I could just tell by even just listening to it with a little speaker. But it's just a great story, a little long-winded, like I said, but it's definitely one of the best movies I've seen in a long time. I was really invested in it. It gives you that Rocky experience, you know what I mean? Blue-collar guy, set of challenges ahead of him, prevails, and it's a hero story, essentially. So it's not without a little bit of tragedy here or there, but there's a good spoonful of machismo in this, which I really enjoyed. And, I'm so sick of everything being a cookie cutter blueprint movie made by, Marvel Studios or DC, whatever. I mean, I can enjoy those popcorn flicks, but this is just a good old fashioned, film about a person's real life story. And I know that it's probably like been Hollywoodized or whatever. It's been, reimagined to be more entertaining, and that's fine. But it's something different than what we usually get. It's not like another Spider-Man movie. I don't even think I bothered to see the last Spider-Man movie. It's just nice to see a movie that's a movie. It's a movie about some person's lives and these extraordinary events that happened to them in the late 60s. So I can't recommend it enough. It's fantastic. It's a great way to kill 2.5 hours. So I definitely give this movie like a 9.5 out of 10. It's an 8. It's an A plus almost. It's an A. But it's a really good movie. I enjoyed it. Definitely check it out. Ford versus Ferrari. And that's it. And as always, guys, stay awesome, stay R-rated. Cheers. Hey, what's up, everyone? Josh here. Just want to say thanks so much for listening to the show. We really do appreciate it. And if you enjoyed the content, please hit the like button. And go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. We'd love to have you on board. Lots of great content coming in 2020. And we just really enjoy the community over here and enjoying pop culture together. So if you get a chance, hit subscribe. Really appreciate it. And until next time, guys, stay awesome, stay R-rated. Cheers.